So Ohio State on the recruiting trail, they've done a lot of things great. Currently have the number one overall recruiting class in the 2025 cycle. There's also been some things that have been a few hiccups along the way. Receiver recruiting is great. Got a commitment recently from Phillip Bell that came, I believe, the evening around 9 or 10 p.m. Eastern time of Ohio State's first one of the season over Akron. There's also been some struggles. You can't win them all. You can't be the school that just hits on every single recruit. There's been some frustration with the Buckeyes O-line recruiting, but the way the O-line is played right now, I do believe is going to boost the O-line recruiting, and it could speak volumes about how Ohio State recruits players throughout this cycle in 2025. Because one thing we know right now about the cycle, recruiting isn't done. You're still pursuing. You are still working. You are still grinding to secure players signing on the dotted line on the National Signing Day, signing their national letter of intent, from your quarterback, Atavius St. Clair, all the way down to the three-star recruit that's the lowest rated player in the cycle, in the class for Ohio State. You're working to secure a signed commitment from everyone. In Ohio State right now, when it comes to O-line recruiting, yeah, they got a commitment recently from Jayvan McFadden. There's only 3 O-line commits right now. Carter Lowe is one of them. He is a youngster from Toledo, Ohio. Also, shout out to Toledo recently. They went down to Mississippi State and smacked them down there. It was really good to see Toledo put the hurry on them. And then also Jake Cook, who's from Westerville, Ohio, Westerville North High School. He's the other O-line commitment there. Those 3 are the only O-line commitments. One thing Brian Smith and I said during one of our final recruiting shows with Brian, or the latest recruiting show with Brian, was that the recruiting tool Ohio State has right now is, if they continue to play better and develop players this year and put more guys in the NFL, that's a massive recruiting tool for Ohio State. The one thing about the NFL for this cycle is the NFL draft is after National Signing Day. It's actually after spring practice. So you realistically would think that the guys that are trying to look at Ohio State to maybe commit there, they're watching how Justin Frye's guys are playing this year. They're watching that unit from Simmons to Fryer and the 3 guys in the middle. They're watching all of them saying, are guys developing? Are guys playing better than they did a year ago? Are the newcomers quickly being acclimated and doing the things that are being asked of them? And are they exceeding expectations while in the scarlet and gray? I think all of those things are realistic questions that if I'm a high school recruiter, I'm asking myself about these players right now, because you're considering going to Ohio State. Or maybe you're considering flipping to Ohio State. Or maybe you know somebody that's on your team that's an offensive lineman that is thinking about going to Ohio State, but maybe not in this cycle, but in 2026, maybe 2027, or maybe even a really youngster in 2028. Maybe you're someone like that is saying, we know Justin Frye's had some issues in recruiting. We know that it's hard for Ohio State to recruit elite players outside of the state of Ohio. That's cool. That doesn't mean that I will not look at them and say, regardless of the troubles Ohio State has had, what they have done so far this season is a major recruiting tool for the Buckeyes with the offensive linemen. It wouldn't shock me if on the early National Signing Day, I believe it's a few days prior to the conference championship game kicking off, that the Buckeyes had one more guy commit or had 4 signed that day. Maybe it's a signing day flip, which, hey, I'm here for. I'm here for the chaos in that sense. Not here for the chaos if a guy flips from Ohio State, which is probably going to happen. It's just the nature of the beast. But if a guy wants to flip from going from another school to Ohio State on National Signing Day, cool. Let's make that bad boy happen. But that's what might actually happen. You might not get anybody to flip right now. You might not get anybody to change their mind right now. You may not get anybody to give a verbal commit right now, and that's okay. O-line recruiting is different than probably recruiting any other position. One, offensive linemen want to stay home, man. They are not the guys that want to go far away from home. We talk about guys in South Florida, and Ohio State does a phenomenal job of recruiting them, and how their mindset is different, though. Like Jeremiah Smith is a part of that. I believe Cardinal Tate's from Chicago. I think Brandon Ennis is a guy that was playing with Jeremiah Smith down there on South Florida Express at 7-on-7 squad. If you go down there and watch them, I've been to high school football games, a couple of them down in Florida, not a whole lot. I used to live in Florida, and I'm a big high school football fan, as many of you know. I did not go to many high school football games down in Florida, and that's really weird for me to say right now because high school football, man, I've been loving this thing and watching this thing almost religiously for 20 years, and that's dating back to, wow, that sounds, yeah, for about 20 years now. The guys down there have a different mindset. It's just how they are. It's just the makeup of them as humans. Not a bad thing. It's just a different mindset. Well, offensive linemen do too. If they don't want to go far away from home, that's cool. David Sanders Jr. from, I believe, North Carolina, committed to Tennessee. Do I think Tennessee develops and puts more offensive linemen into the NFL than Ohio State? No. Do I understand the appeal of David Sanders Jr. to go to Tennessee? Because they do a good job of recruiting and developing offensive linemen. Not better than Ohio State's, but I understand it. But also geographically, it's easier and quicker for his mama to go from home to Tennessee and Knoxville to watch her baby play. I understand that. And that's kind of what we have to remember about offensive linemen. The process is going to be slower, and a lot of them don't want to go far from home. But a lot of them also want to see, just like a lot of guys do, what have you done for your guys lately? The flip side of that, or the next thing is, okay, we see what you have done for your guys lately. How do I fit into that plan so I know what you can do for me in the future? It's present day and the past years and also future. Well, as any recruit, but also offensive lineman, you got to deal with the mindset. And maybe with it being so hard to recruit guys outside of the state of Ohio, what we're seeing this year is a massive recruiting tool. You're starting 2 new guys that have been in your program for a while. One guy didn't play a snap last year, starting left guard, and did a great job during his first 2 starts in his Buckeye career. Shabola doing a great job as well. Seth McLaughlin transferring in. Oh, he fits in well. So even if I'm an O-line guy that's going to go to the portal, man, look, Ohio State can recruit the high school guys, can recruit the guys in the portal, and they have film to see how Ohio State's going to use those guys, how they use them this year. That is an added advantage that Ohio State has right now. And if they use this thing to their to take advantage of it, man, the Buckeyes honestly could end the cycle with 5 guys. So that's a bigger number than I would have thought a couple weeks ago. But it's a reality. They get in this cycle with 5 guys from the high school side committed to Ohio State. And if they get a guy in the portal on the offensive line, that wouldn't shock me either.